I never thought something like that would happen at my school. You always see those stories on the news. Different town, different faces, different building. You watch for 5 minutes, feel bad for the people involved, and then you go back to your normal life. That Tuesday started normal. That's the part that still bothers me. It was cold outside, the kind of gray morning where everything feels slow. I remember being annoyed because I forgot my headphones at home. That small detail sticks with me for some reason. I kept thinking how quiet my walk to school felt without music. If I had known what was going to happen, I would have paid more attention to everything. The way the air smelled, the way the building looked, the sound of lockers slamming. Second period was English. We were reading out loud from a novel nobody cared about. I was sitting near the back, close to the windows. From my seat, I could see the parking lot through the glass. About 20 minutes into class, I noticed something strange. A car was parked in the staff lot, but it wasn't in a proper space. It was angled slightly, like it had stopped quickly. I remember thinking, that's weird, but I didn't think more about it. A few minutes later, I heard a loud bang from somewhere in the hallway. It sounded like a locker being kicked. Some kids in class laughed. Someone whispered, "Probably Jake again." Our teacher paused reading, but only for a second. Then we heard another bang. This one was louder. Not metal on metal, more like something heavy hitting the ground. The room slowly went quiet. Then came screaming. Real screaming, not the playful kind, not someone joking around. It was sharp and desperate. Our teacher's face changed immediately. She walked to the door and locked it without saying anything. That's when my stomach dropped. We had done lockdown drills before, but drills feel fake. You know they're fake. You can feel it. This didn't feel fake. She turned off the lights and whispered, "Everyone down, now." Chairs scraped across the floor as we moved. Some students crawled under desks. Others pressed themselves against the wall away from the door. I slid down beside a bookshelf near the back corner. My heart was pounding so hard it made my ears ring. The screaming outside didn't stop. It got closer. Then footsteps ran past our classroom, fast, heavy, and then something hit our door, hard. The entire class flinched at once. The handle moved slightly, just once, like someone tested it. I held my breath. No one spoke. No one even cried. It was like fear pressed pause on everything human. Then we heard a voice in the hallway, a male voice, angry, shouting something I couldn't fully understand. Then another crash, then more running. My brain kept trying to convince me this wasn't happening, that it was just a fight, that security would handle it. But deep down, I knew this was different. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time didn't feel normal. Then I heard something I will never forget. A single loud pop, then another, and another. It echoed through the hallway like it was bouncing off the walls. Gunshots. Even if you've never heard one in real life, you know the sound. And when you hear it inside a school, your body understands before your mind does. Someone near me started shaking so badly the bookshelf behind us rattled. I pressed my back harder against the wall, like it would somehow protect me. The hallway went quiet again, the kind of silence that feels heavy. Then more footsteps, slower this time, closer. They stopped right outside our classroom door. The handle moved again, longer this time, slowly turning. Whoever was outside pushed against it. Once, twice. The door held. I stared at the bottom crack of the door. I don't know why, I just couldn't look anywhere else. For a split second, I saw a shadow move across the light in the hallway. Someone was standing there, right outside. I could hear breathing. Not loud, but close enough. Then the footsteps moved away. I didn't relax. I didn't move. I just waited. A few seconds later, we heard shouting from the other end of the hallway. Different voices. Deeper. "Drop it!
Get down! Then more pops. Then a loud crash. And then silence. Long, terrifying silence. Eventually, sirens filled the air outside. Police entered the building. We stayed hidden until an officer unlocked our door and told us to come out slowly. When I stood up, my legs felt weak. The hallway looked different than it had an hour earlier. There were broken lockers, shattered glass, a backpack lying in the middle of the floor, and blood. Not everywhere, but enough to make it real. We were guided into the gym with other classes. Students were crying. Some were being treated by paramedics. Teachers looked pale and distant. That's when we learned what happened. A former student had entered the building through a side entrance. He had been expelled the year before. No one expected him to come back. No one expected him to come back angry. He injured 3 students before being stopped by police who happened to be nearby responding to another call. One of those students was someone I had spoken to that morning. Just small talk about homework. I saw him later in the gym with a bandage around his shoulder, staring at the floor. That image still comes back sometimes. The school closed for 2 weeks. When we returned, everything felt different. There were security officers at every entrance, metal detectors, clear backpacks, counselors in every hallway. But none of that erased what happened. For months, loud noises made me jump. If someone knocked on a classroom door unexpectedly, my chest tightened. I couldn't sit near doors anymore. I had to know where the exits were at all times. The strangest part wasn't the fear. It was the quiet afterward. People stopped talking about it after a while. The news moved on. The building got cleaned. The lockers got repaired. But I would still sometimes hear that handle turning in my head, slowly, testing the lock. I still think about the car I saw in the parking lot that morning. If I had said something, would it have mattered? Probably not. But your brain doesn't care about logic after something like that. It just replays everything, over and over. I graduated 2 years later. On the last day, I walked past that classroom one more time. The door looked normal. Fresh paint, new lock, students laughing in the hallway. It looked like any other school again. But I know how fast normal can disappear. Now, whenever I see stories about attacks on the news, I don't change the channel, because I know the feeling of being inside that headline. I know what it's like to stare at a door handle, hoping it doesn't move. And I know how thin the line is between an ordinary Tuesday and the day everything changes forever.
I used to work night security at my old secondary school. If you've never been inside a school after midnight, it's hard to explain how different it feels. In the day, it's loud. Lockers slam, teachers shout, students laugh. Everything feels alive. At night, it feels like the building is holding its breath. I took the job because I needed money, and honestly, I thought it would be easy. Walk the halls, check the doors, watch CCTV, drink coffee, go home. Most nights were boring, until the night the phone rang. It was a Friday in late November, cold enough that you could see your breath outside. The heating system inside the building made this low humming noise that never really stopped. By 10:30 p.m., I had already done 2 full rounds of the school. Every door was locked, every window secured, the alarm system showed all green. I was alone. The security office sat near the main entrance. It had 2 monitors showing different camera angles, hallways, stairwells, the parking lot, the reception desk. Around 11:47 p.m., I remember checking the time on my phone because I was counting down to midnight. Once it hit 12, my shift would feel almost over. That's when the main office phone rang. Not my mobile, not the radio. The old desk phone connected to the school's internal lines.
The sound of it cut through the silence in a way that made my chest tighten. It rang once. I stared at it. It rang again. No one was supposed to be in the building. I picked it up. "Security?" I said. Silence. Not static, not background noise, just silence. I pulled the phone slightly away from my ear and checked if the line was connected. It was. "Hello?" I tried again. For a second, I thought someone had dialed by mistake and hung up. Then I heard breathing. Very faint, slow, like someone holding the receiver close to their face. My first thought was that it had to be a prank. Maybe a student had snuck into the building somehow. Maybe someone was hiding. "Who is this?" I asked. The breathing continued. Then, in a small voice, a child's voice, I heard, "Can you help me?" The line went dead. No click, no goodbye, just silence. I stood there, holding the phone for a few seconds longer than I should have. Then I slowly placed it back down. My heart was beating faster now. I checked the phone display. Instead of an outside number, it showed an internal extension. Extension 214. Room 214. I knew that room. It was an old classroom on the second floor, near the end of the east corridor. It hadn't been used in months because of renovation work scheduled for next year. No one should have been there. I told myself it had to be a technical glitch, old wiring, crossed lines, something simple. But there's a difference between telling yourself something and believing it. I grabbed my flashlight and my master key ring. As I stepped into the hallway, the silence felt heavier than before. The reception area lights were dim. The polished floor reflected the emergency exit signs in a dull red glow. My footsteps echoed as I walked toward the stairs. Each step sounded too loud. I reached the second floor and paused at the top of the stairs. The east corridor stretched out in front of me, long, straight, every classroom door closed. The lights above buzzed faintly. I started walking. Room 206, 208, 210. When I reached 214, I stopped. The door was closed. I tried the handle. Locked. I unlocked it with my key. The door creaked open. I stepped inside and turned on the light. The room was empty. Desks stacked near the walls, chairs flipped upside down on top of them. The whiteboard still had faint marker stains from months ago. No one. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "Hello?" I said, just in case. Nothing answered. Then I noticed something small but strange. The classroom phone on the teacher's desk wasn't sitting properly in its base.
The receiver was slightly tilted, not fully off the hook, but not fully resting either, just enough that it could have been picked up. I walked closer. The cord was stretched loosely across the desk. I stared at it for a long moment. If someone had been in this room, they would have had to leave somehow. There was only one door, no windows that opened wide enough to climb through, no hidden exits, and I would have seen someone in the hallway. I carefully placed the receiver back into its base. The dial tone stopped completely. The room went silent again. I checked the cupboards, under the teacher's desk, even the small storage closet at the back. Nothing. I locked the room and walked back to the security office, trying to convince myself it was just faulty wiring. When I got back, I checked the CCTV footage for the second floor. The corridor outside room 214 showed no movement, no one entering, no one leaving. I rewound the footage to 5 minutes before the phone call. Still nothing. The hallway remained empty the entire time. That should have been comforting, but it wasn't, because if no one entered or exited the room, then who called?
I tried to shake it off and finish my shift. Around 12:30 a.m., just as I was about to make my final round, the phone rang again. This time, I jumped. I stared at it for a full 5 seconds before answering. "Security?" I said, my voice tighter than before. Silence. Then the same breathing, slow, closer this time, and then the same voice, but clearer. "Why didn't you come?" My throat went dry. "I did," I said before I could stop myself. There was a pause. Then the voice said something that made my skin go cold. "I'm still in here." The line cut out. I looked at the display. Extension 214. Again. I didn't hesitate this time. I grabbed my flashlight and ran to the stairs. The second-floor corridor felt darker, even though the lights were on. I moved faster than before. When I reached room 214, I noticed something immediately. The door was slightly open, just a crack. I was sure I had locked it. I pushed it open slowly. The light inside was already on. I didn't remember leaving it on. The desks were no longer stacked against the walls. They were arranged in rows, like a class was about to start. My chest tightened. That wasn't possible. No one had gone in. No one had come out. I stepped inside carefully. The air felt colder than before. The classroom phone sat on the desk. The receiver was off the hook completely this time, and from the speaker, I could hear faint breathing. I froze. The breathing wasn't coming through the phone line. It was in the room, behind me. I turned slowly. The room was empty, but the breathing continued, soft, right near my ear. I spun around again, shining the flashlight in every corner. Nothing. Then the breathing stopped. At the same time, every light in the room flickered. Once, twice, then went out. I didn't stay to investigate. I ran out of that classroom and didn't look back. When I reached the hallway, the lights there were still on. I slammed the door shut behind me. The moment it closed, I heard something hit the other side. Not hard, just enough to make the door shake slightly, like someone or something had placed a hand against it. I locked it, and I didn't go back up there for the rest of the night. The next morning, I reported everything. Maintenance checked the wiring. They found nothing wrong. No crossed lines, no malfunction. Room 214's phone had no record of outgoing calls that night. According to the system, it was never used. I quit 2 weeks later. I told everyone it was because I found a better job. But the truth is, I still sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and hear that voice in my head. Small, calm, asking for help. And what bothers me most isn't the breathing. It isn't the moving desks. It isn't the door opening on its own. It's what the voice said the second time. "Why didn't you come?" Because I did go, and whatever was in that classroom was waiting.
I didn't believe in ghosts. Not before day 23. Our school basement had always been off limits to students unless a teacher was with you. It wasn't dramatic or creepy on purpose. It was just old. Concrete walls, low ceilings, flickering lights that buzzed constantly. But even during the day, it felt wrong down there. The air was colder than the rest of the building. Not freezing, just heavy, like it didn't move. I only went down there because of drama club. It was the 23rd day of the new term. That number sticks in my head because it was written on the whiteboard upstairs when I checked the date before rehearsal. Rehearsal ended around 6:40 p.m. Most students had already gone home. The sky outside the windows had turned dark blue, almost black. Our drama teacher asked me if I could grab an old wooden stage prop from basement storage. It was some fake treasure chest we needed for a scene.
I didn't want to go alone, but I didn't want to look scared either, so I said yes. The basement entrance was near the back stairwell, a thick metal door with a small square window. The glass was cloudy from age. When I opened it, the smell hit me immediately. Damp concrete, dust, old wood, the kind of smell that sticks to your clothes. The stairs down were narrow and painted a dull gray. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. Halfway down, I had the strange feeling that someone was walking behind me. I stopped. The echo stopped. I listened carefully. Nothing. Just the faint buzz of the basement lights. I told myself I was overthinking it. At the bottom of the stairs was a long corridor. Storage rooms lined both sides. Some doors were open slightly, showing stacks of broken chairs or boxes. The lights overhead flickered randomly. I walked toward the drama storage room at the far end. The whole time, I had this feeling in my stomach, like when you know someone is watching you. I reached the storage door and unlocked it. The inside room was cluttered. Costumes hung from racks, cardboard boxes stacked unevenly, old props leaning against walls. I stepped in and turned on the small light inside. It flickered once before staying on. I started searching for the wooden chest. I moved aside a fake tree prop, then a pile of old curtain fabric. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, clear, coming from the basement corridor outside the storage room. I froze. It sounded like someone wearing heavy shoes walking on concrete. Step. Pause. Step. Pause. I assumed it was the caretaker. "Hello?" I called out. "It's me from Drama Club." No answer. The footsteps continued. Slow. Unhurried. They passed the storage room door. I could hear them moving down the corridor. Then they stopped. I waited. Maybe the caretaker was checking another room. Maybe someone else had come down. But something felt wrong. The footsteps didn't sound like they were walking normally. They sounded uneven, like one foot dragged slightly behind the other. Step. Drag. Step. Drag. I stepped out into the corridor and shined my phone light both ways. Empty. No one there. The corridor stretched in both directions. Silent. I told myself it was just pipes expanding or something shifting in the walls. Old buildings make noises. That's what I kept repeating in my head. I went back into the storage room and found the wooden chest near the back. It was heavier than I expected. I bent down to lift it. That's when I heard the footsteps again. This time, they were closer. Inside the storage room, right behind me. Step. Drag. Step. Drag. Step. Drag. My entire body went cold. I didn't turn around immediately. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared of what I'd see. Maybe I was scared I wouldn't see anything at all. The footsteps stopped, right behind me, close enough that I felt like someone was standing inches away. I slowly turned. The storage room was empty. Costumes hung still, boxes untouched. No one. I stood there, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then, something shifted near the back corner. A stack of cardboard boxes leaned slightly to the side, like something brushed against them. I dropped the wooden chest. It hit the floor loudly. The sound echoed through the basement. Immediately, the footsteps started again, faster now, circling me, not running, but moving with purpose. Step. Drag. Step. Drag. Moving around the room. I spun in place, shining my phone light wildly. Nothing. No shadow, no figure, but the sound was real. It was right there. My breathing became shallow. I backed toward the doorway. The footsteps followed, matching my movement.
When I reached the corridor, the overhead lights flickered rapidly, buzzing louder. I didn't wait. I ran. I sprinted down the corridor toward the stairs, and the footsteps ran too, louder now, closer, right behind me. I could hear the dragging sound clearly. Step, drag, step, drag. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The sound was so close I felt like something could grab my shoulder any second. I reached the stairs and took them two at a time. The footsteps came up the stairs behind me, clear, heavy, matching every step. When I reached the top and slammed the basement door shut, I heard one final step from the other side. Then silence. I locked the door. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the key. I stood there listening. Nothing. No banging, no turning handle, no breathing. Just silence. I told myself I imagined it. I told myself fear can create sounds, but the sound was too clear, too consistent. The dragging. I walked back toward the drama room upstairs. The hallway felt warmer than before, louder, safer. When I returned with the drama teacher to explain why I didn't bring the prop, she looked annoyed at first, until she saw my face. She went down to the basement with me. I didn't want to go again, but I couldn't let her go alone. We opened the basement door together. The corridor lights were steady now, no flickering, no buzzing louder than usual. We walked to the storage room. The wooden chest was back in the corner, exactly where I had found it. Not on the floor where I dropped it, not slightly moved, placed neatly. The teacher frowned. "Did you put it back?" she asked. I shook my head. She didn't laugh. She didn't accuse me of making it up. She just quietly picked up the chest and told me we were leaving. As we walked back down the corridor, I felt it again, that heavy feeling, like someone standing just out of sight, watching. Right before we reached the stairs, I heard it one last time, very faint, behind us. Step. Drag. The teacher stopped. She heard it too. We both looked at each other, and without saying anything, we walked faster. When we reached the basement door and closed it, the dragging sound stopped completely. The next morning, the caretaker told us something strange. The basement had been locked the entire evening. According to him, the only key was in the main office, and it hadn't moved, which meant, technically, no one should have been able to go down there at all. I never went back into that basement again. I still attend that school. I still walk past that stairwell every day. And sometimes, when the hallway is quiet, I swear I hear something faint coming from behind that metal door. Not loud, not constant, just a single uneven sound. Step. Drag. Step. Drag. And every time I hear it, I walk faster.